Yeah, some of them for 2 days between the diabetes and everything, but she was able to donate several. Oh, wow. Yes, so we knew that's what she wanted.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ann. I'm Leann, mom. And most of you, virtually and here, know Leann as, I'll say, 18 and over. Well, I got her in her younger years, thank God. So I just want to say a little bit about her. A couple weeks ago, I was by Brandon's house, and he had the Leannism sign up. And I was driving home, and I'm thinking, wow, that's really awesome. And I bet you I could add it to, maybe not a Leannism, but how Leann got her name. And my husband's from here, well, the McAgnonville area, and I'm Milwaukee. So that being said, got the north and the south. And I was always having a boy, and turned out to be Leann, which was very happy of, but the poor girl did not have a name. And they were not going to, because we only had boys' names, and they were not going to let her go home until she had a name. So she was always baby, whatever baby needed. So at 10 days old, she got her name. My husband's name was Roderick Lee, and my name is Patricia Ann. So we actually compromised on Leann. And in Milwaukee, she pretty much was the only Leann in school. We came here, we've got all Leanns, many Leanns. Like she wasn't our number one Leann anymore. But she, just in getting her name, that was really a big thing to be the house look up. You're not going home. But that being said, and when in her younger days, things she loved the most was to read and sleep. Leann loved to sleep and read. But I'm going to back up a little because I have to say that Leann also has a sister, Heidi, who cannot be here with her family, and her Heidi's children are Leann's nephew is Xander Sage and a niece Ava, and she also has a nephew Gary in Wisconsin and Penny from Ohio, and niece and nephew. So she's truly lucky. And then we got to see each other somehow, sometime. But anyways, that's Leann's family. And like I said, Heidi wishes she could be here, but things happen. And so Leann loved reading since she was little. And luckily enough, we lived right across from a library. And Jenny used the library often also, and probably many of her friends who are listening were there also with her. And she was very young, 4 or 5, she had to learn how to print her name, and she did, and got that library card. Well, let me tell you, she got that card and the world was hers. And that's how you know her now with her reading and her love of books, and however knowing her. And Jenny grew up, but she's here. But I know if people are listening from other areas and state, they also. That's pretty much of she. Yeah, the thing was reading, and she did sign language, and she was happy child, and she had an imaginary friend, Meta. I sat on her many times. You're on Meta. Yes, I was. And it's but really it's that's pretty much Leann, younger. I mean, there's a lot more, of course, but that's my Leann, and memories of some that remember Leann at that age years ago. And I miss her terribly, of course, just like all of us, I'm sure. And but probably what I don't miss is rolling at our eyes at me when anything's computer related. But I truly, your family, truly miss that. Hey, what you up to? So stay in contact with your families and hey, what you up to? And in that, I'm just going to read something that was, I don't know who the author was, but I think today we're not, we're here to celebrate her, not to grieve her. I think we've done a lot of that. I guess it's acceptance. I haven't gotten to acceptance yet, but Brandon and I were talking, and it's like, hopefully today will be some sort of acceptance. But we'll make it. And I have the most wonderful son-in-law. And he's so special. And all you people, wherever you are, you're so special because you're a part of her life and you made her the Leann I don't know, but you helped her be who she became. And I'm so proud of her and all of you for being wherever again you are, for being part of her life. And God bless you. And for all who said your thoughts and prayers for us to get through this, you're the reason I'm standing here. Trust me, that's very true. And that's it. So just for today, I will try to live the next 24 hours and not expect to get over Leann's death, but instead learn to live with it just one day at a time. Just for today, I will remember Leann's life, not her death, and bask in the comforts of all those treasured days that her and her father and friends and family shared with her. Just for today, I will smile no matter how much I hurt on the inside, for maybe if I smile a little, my black heart will soften. Just for today, I will free myself from self-inflicted burdens of guilt. For deep in my heart, I know that if there was anything in this world I could have done to save Leann, I sure as heck would have. Just for today, I will honor my child's memory by doing something with another person. I hope laugh. I hope we laugh together. Maybe cried a little. I'm good at that. But I hope we got smiles. And for just loving her, and the only reason I heard is because I had the privilege, like you, of knowing her. Just for today, when my heart feels like breaking, I will stop and remember the grief is the price we pay for loving someone, and the only reason I hurt, like you, is because I had the privilege of knowing Leann and loving her. Just for today, I will not compare myself with others, because I am truly fortunate to be the mother of Leann that I loved so long, but not long enough. Just for today, I will allow myself to be happy, but I know that I am not deserting Leann by going on to live. Just for today, I will accept that I did not die when my child did. My life does go on, and it will, and I am the only one who can make this happen and worthwhile once more, and definitely through your prayers and love. Thank you, everyone, for being her friend and just loving her in any way all of you did. God bless. God bless you, baby. And take care, Heidi.
life. Not all of them were able to be here today, but still wanted to offer something. So I'm reading this, which was written by Leann's friend, Nicole Wiles. Leann was my best friend. I used to tease her about the fact that if I ever said that in a room full of people, there would be cries of objection from her other best friends. But as you know, Leann had an amazing gift for treating you as if you were the most sacred, most special friend in her life. She made people feel like they mattered so much, and I cannot think of a better legacy to leave behind. Fate had placed us at the same table at an ACT conference in 2014. We bonded immediately, lost touch for a bit, and reconnected again when I put out a call for tech help on social media. She spent 2 hours on a Friday night patiently offering support, setting things up, and making sure I had everything I needed to get started. Because that's what she did, and who she was, and why this room is so packed with people who love her. Not only was her generosity unmatched, but her investment in people and their dreams made you believe anything was possible. When negativity and self-doubt contaminated possibility, Leann was like an eraser, clearing and removing any unnecessary ickiness and allowing you to see the situation with fresh eyes. Leann was the first person I had ever shared my writing with, and her positive feedback, I think you have something special here, something that really is going to help people change the trajectory of my life. How cool is that? To be the person who guides someone on a path even bigger than they ever believed possible. Her confidence and encouragement helped me get real momentum going. Her guidance along the way was invaluable. I'm not a real writer. When I was overwhelmed and reading several books on how to actually write a book, Leann reminded me that my intuition was what mattered the most in the early draft. She told me, I applaud you for trying to learn how to write a book while writing a book, but I really think you should just write the effing book. So I wrote the effing book. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this next chapter of life without her. I was counting on her to be here with me through the entire writing and publishing process. But what I know to be true is this. Death sets off a series of events that typically wouldn't have otherwise happened. And through this massively shitty and incredibly significant loss, I have been able to connect with several others who love her too. And maybe that's what this next chapter is about. Creating a community of those who loved her and supporting each other in a way that would make her so incredibly proud. I hope that you do the thing Leann was helping me with. I hope you write the effing book and create the course and compose the song. I hope we honor her legacy by doing all the things and showing up for each other. Fun fact, Brandon is Leann's real best friend. She loved him so much. And she loved coaching and books and music and her dogs. Leann loved you, her family, her internet friends, and all the friendships cultivated from vastly different parts of her life. And me, I know she loved me too. Leann held my hand tighter than anyone else, and I am so incredibly grateful to have called her my friend. May we all continue to celebrate her life in all that we do. Nicole Wiles. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, if you would indulge me, my name is Franklin. Y'all just me as Tick, a friend of Leann, just like everybody else here. But my brother was not able to make it here. He was very fond of Leann and Brandon. So, if you don't just indulge me, I'd just like to read something that he sent. Greetings to you all. I'm sorry that I cannot join you due to weather here in New York, which grounded all flights out of the water and left no options to get me here in time for this gathering. Of course, virtually none of you except Brandon, my brother, Franklin Siani, and the spirit of Leann, actually know who I am. And I'm pretty sure that of all of us in this room, I probably knew Leann the least well. But that's kind of my point. Leann was the kind of person whom you did not need to know exceptionally well to appreciate who she was. It was about a decade ago when Franklin told me about meeting with Brandon and Leann and developing a relationship with them. Within a year or two after that, his fondness for them was so apparent that I knew I had to meet them. I actually don't quite remember the first time we hung out, but I vividly remember a number of occasions after that. One could exhaust a thesaurus with all the adjectives that could describe Brandon and Leann. Kind, generous, creative, funny, hardworking, ethical, principled, life-loving, engaged with the people around them. The list goes on. But if I had to sum it all up, I'd use the phrase that the old folks have used for generations. They're good people. They're the kind of good people who, whenever I came home to Richmond 2 or 3 times a year, I'd ask Franklin, so are we going to see Leann and Brandon this time? Yes. Like, no, I barely knew them. That's not the point, or maybe that actually is. When you meet people like Leann and Brandon, you want to know them better. You hope that their spirit will influence and enhance yours in any way possible, and indeed Leann's spirit will work to influence mine. My only limit is that there was not more time. I'm sorry that the weather conspired against me coming to Richmond to join you, but please know that you have my deepest condolences, and I join you in the complex emotion of mourning and passing the celebration of Leann Harris. With all love, Sammy Roberts. When I read that, I couldn't believe the timeline was accurate. For 10 years that I met Brandon. Awkward as it sounds, one time I remember hanging out and somebody asked us, how did you guys meet? We met on the internet. So kind of funny at the time, but that's how it happened. In fact, with my wife, who Brandon and I had probably written about 57 songs or something on the internet, and we lived about 3 miles away. She was like, maybe you should be in person. So, hey, we've been, but I would say best friends ever since. I'm sure there's other ears would disagree, but I got the mic right now, so best friends. And also, I just was, how could you not just love Leann the first time we met her, but one thing that stuck out was just how she was so willing to share some of the most important things in her life with others. There was Brandon and I would hang out, Dave would invite us down for a great time, and Brandon, of course, welcomed me into his friend group, and I like to think I became kind of a part of the band, part of the crew, and she never, you always hear these in the sitcoms, like, oh, let me see if my wife will let me out. It's like, no, it was like, no, go out, have healthy relationships with your friends. She understood that he did not belong to her, she did not belong to him, but it's, in so many ways, I kind of basically do so. So that was my relationship with her, and we became close. And I know there's going to be a lot of things that get repeated here today, because if you're good at something, don't stop doing it. And she was good at being supportive, kind, informed, pushing you while embracing the faults and your insecurities that you may have about a few things. I share her mother's. I've been there on the other side of the frustration with tech. And so, she was explaining to me on the workings of the interwebs. I'm sure she was a little bit frustrated, but she's patient. I think she pushed all of us to open up our talents in ways to use technology. And we were talking to a few people here, and my wife started to a 6 therapist walk into a room. And it was just amazing that there's so much negative about social media. And just like so many things, Leann found a way to just bring the best out of even that tool and bring people together. So I did just want to share that I will forever be thankful, not only for what she's done, of course, for Brandon and all of you, but she had a huge impact on my daughter's life, and I just didn't tell you. When my daughter came out of grad school, she was having the toughest time in her job, and she was interviewing. And she was calling, putting in, interviewing, and no doors were opening. And it's tough taking that many no's. And I talked to Leann about it. And she said, I'll tell you what, let me coach you. And that was 2019. And she did a few sessions with Leann. And she got the job that she needed for. And her dream was to live in Washington. And so she lived in Washington. We had a very young, she was always kind of under us and had never spread her wings. Leann gave her that confidence, and she landed her dream job in the first interview. And we just moved her back into her second apartment. Now she came down for 2 months switching apartments, but she's still in DC. Just she's all around for it. That's me. So, Leann, I will forever be grateful. We will continue to stick together, and thank you for doing all this with us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jill. I wrote some notes down, so this is going to be hard, but I know Leann through ACBS, which is our professional community of people who use this particular type of psychological science to hopefully leave the world a slightly better place than we found it. And in the way too short time that we had Leann, she certainly did that. She made the world a better place, and I think she made all of us better too. I know she made me better. And I think COVID taught us that we can have relationships online, but I actually learned that from Leann. And I never actually met her in person, which still boggles my mind. I kind of can't wrap my head around it. But it didn't matter, and I'll echo what other people have already said, but she had a way of just making everyone feel so incredibly special and valued and deeply connected, even on a computer screen. And when I think of Leann, I think about her incredible range of talents, and I think every time I spoke to her, I learned something new. If it was computers, or dogs, or people, or books, or writing. I mean, was there anything she didn't do? And, you know, she shared these special powers with everyone so incredibly generously and never asked for anything in return. So when Leann and I first met through ACBS, one of the first things we did together is I was her very first guest when she started her podcast. And then she helped me on my podcast with What Else in Tech, our webpage. She told me which microphone to get, and it was a big improvement over the one that my IT husband had told me to get. She was helping ACBS with one of our technological pillars. It was a really big job that she could just take in and volunteer to do. And as I've said to some of you already, she had this incredible way of helping everyone else, but somehow making you feel like you were doing her a favor. Do you know what I mean? It was crazy to me. She was the world's best cheerleader, but did not let you get away with anything. Excuses were not allowed, and especially if that excuse came in the form of a lack of self-confidence. And we were talking, the girls and I were talking last night, how it was sort of like she ruled with an iron fist covered with velvet glove. She was like so kind and gentle, but you were not going to get away with sabotaging yourself. And all of this made her an incredibly good book coach. She was training to become a certified book coach, and I was one of her practicum students. Again, she was helping me, but making me feel like I was doing her a favor. So she was just getting started. She was already doing such a good job. And she and I were just getting going on a book proposal when she died. And I put it aside. It was just too painful. I was thinking about her all the time. But I knew that if I didn't get back to it, she would kill me. And she would be incredibly disappointed, and I kept hearing her voice in the back of my head of what she would be saying to me, not letting me get away with not getting back to this book. She believed in it. She believed that I was the one who had to write it. And so I didn't have her, but I had her coaching materials that she had already given me. And with her voice in the back of my head and those materials and what we had already worked on together, I got my first agent. And just this week, timing is crazy to me, had a dream come true and accepted a generous book offer from a big 5 New York publisher. And I know that Leann would have been even more excited for me than I was for myself. I was pretty freaking excited. So I shared the news with the director of her book coaching company. And she sent me an email that I want to read to you guys. So this is from someone named Jenny Nash, who's like a really big deal in our writing world. And she knew who Jenny Nash was. We both listened to this #writing podcast, and I think that's how she found out about Author Accelerator, actually, and become a book coach. So Jenny Nash says, Jill, your note brought tears to my eyes. I'm so deeply moved by your story. When Leann died, we were all just shocked. We didn't know her well, but she was such a shining presence in our community, and we could tell that she loved the work and was going to be so good at it. We tried to find a way to figure out who she was working with for her practicums, and we never did, but now here you are. I'm just thrilled for you. Leann would be so terribly proud. Having your first client land a deal like that is the best feeling. If Leann were alive, we would be, sorry, this is very small, and I have tears in my eyes. We would have been celebrating her and you and the whole wonderful reality of this great day. If you would allow it, I would like to share your story with our book coaching community. I'd also love to write something about it for a blog or newsletter, maybe do a Q&A. So of course I said, yes, absolutely. I want as many people in the world to know the impact that Leann had on me personally, and that she was so good and talented at every single thing that she touched. So yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I know that this would just be, she would be so thrilled and so proud, and everyone who met her seemed to know that about her. Thank you so much. You guys have some nice. Yes, sir. Thanks.
Hi, I'm David, I'm a friend of Leann's. In the many months since Leann's passing, we have mourned her. Many of us are still tangled in the sadness and the anger and the ache. I certainly am. We're not ready to let her go. I think Leann would say that we don't have to. So let's hold on tighter. Let's remember her together. I came to know Leann in the early years of high school. She was a teenage girl who moved here from Wisconsin who was looking to fit in. I was a born and bred Virginia boy, a teenage weirdo, who was looking for the same thing. She had a way of finding weirdos like me. She was we found each other. We found common purpose in creative writing class in high school. I won't say we connected instantly, but it didn't take too long, not too long at all. In the tempest and the crucible of high school, we forged a bond. And once we did, that was it. An event occurred, an unspoken moment where we just knew we were going to be friends for life. Once that came into being, we both knew that we would navigate the ups and downs of the coming years and of the rest of our lives together. We just knew it. Leann was a force, undeniable, as the greatest friends are. She compelled me, challenged me, and bled with me. She could cheer me on in one breath and kick my ass in the next. She was there for every loss, every joy, every in-between moment of my life, all because two weirdo kids from worlds apart met in an elective course in high school that changed our lives. She was like a sister to me. Beyond my personal experience with Leann, she was so much more to many others. She was a champion of compassion and all humanity. She was also pretty fond of animals, especially the dogs of her pack. She was a strong woman who called for others to be strong also. She was infinitely curious. She loved science and psychology and books and exploration. and she knew the value and importance of imagination and wonder. A few years went by and Leann fell in love with one of my best friends, Brandon Harris. And then she married him. Go figure. And my heart was full. I've never seen a relationship like theirs. I don't know that I ever will. It's inspirational. Their home was a musical home, both of them being musicians and Leann also a gifted singer. She knew how vital music is to the human condition. She understood the transformative power of notes and chords and dynamics and lyrics. She loved it all. She loved people. As anyone who has ever corresponded with Leann likely knows, she always had a quote from Robert Byrne attached to her signature line. The purpose of life is a purpose. I think about that often. The beautiful thing is that means something different for all of us. Maybe she helped you find what it means for you. She certainly did that for me. I think she still has more to show us, even now. The purpose of life is a purpose. I hope to honor that. I hope to honor her every day. Leann was my dear friend. I love her, and I miss her.
It's me again with this thing Leann loved. But this is from Leann's cousin, Susan Travers Jones, and she cannot be with us. And before I told you about Leann's family, sister, nieces, nephews, and just her cousins from Maryland, Robin, Teresa, Sarah, Patty, John is not here, and from Virginia is Rick, Susie, Kathy. Who am I missing? Anyone? Gotcha?
Yep.
And they're here and thank you. And so everybody. So this is from Susan, which is my niece, I said was not here. Leann has always been such an important part of my life, far, far beyond the family ties as my younger cousin. She has had profound impact on me. If I'd alphabetize my memories, I would have to start with A, B, C, and D. Advisor, books, cake, and Disney to Z for zoo, because Wisconsin has a beautiful zoo, and go on for hours and hours with VP. Leann showed me what connection means, what a truly loving spirit looks like, and how to make the most of life no matter what challenges are thrown at you. I miss her more than I can say, but I chose to celebrate her with profound joy and gratitude, honoring her. Oh, I'm sorry, wait. I told you that's not gonna happen. Oh. Heartbeat. I'm sorry. Okay, we're good. Leann has always been such an important part of my life, far, far beyond the family ties of my younger cousin. She has had a profound impact on me. If I alphabetize my memories, I would start with A, B, C, and D for advisor, books, cake, and Disney to Z for zoo, and go for hours and hours without repeat. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's okay. No problem. Brandon's looking at it. How can I get this back then? She did it in, no, she did it in. I'm so sorry. Yeah, see?
All good, no problem.
I won't. Okay, Leann showed me what connection means, what a truly loving spirit looks like, and how to make the most of life, no matter what challenges are thrown at you. I miss her more than I can say, but I chose to celebrate her with profound joy and gratitude. Honoring her, to me, is about cherishing the beauty of her life and striving for acceptance, something she often tried patiently to teach me. But honestly, I resisted this and was a very slow learner. Her last lesson on acceptance is by far the most difficult, but is also, I realize, the most important. It teaches me so clearly through the pain of her loss and how much love we shared. To accept the love, I must also accept the loss. I have to admit, I always thought that the relationship Leann and I shared was special because I enjoyed so much of her time, laughter, and wisdom. Now I realize that she gave as much of herself to so many others, that each relationship she had was unique and meaningful. How did she achieve this when I struggled to maintain friendships with just a handful of people? Indeed, she must have lived in another dimension of time, and I believe she still does. I can tell you she is with me every single day, and I know she also exists in each of you. She is part of all of us forever. Time had no power over our love and our memories. She is eternally within us, holding time, no power, our love, and our memories. She is eternally within us, holding you all close in my heart, especially Brandon, my dear Aunt Pat, and Heidi and family. Thank you for this opportunity to share my tribute to Leann. And I'm so sorry I messed it up. I'm sorry.
It's wonderful.
So I'm Brandon, Leann's husband. And I'm going to be a little long-winded. She did a lot in her life, and it's a lot to cover. So, in an effort to lead my life with gratitude and vulnerability, I want to start with thank you. I want to start by saying thank you to all of you. Thank you for being a part of her journey. Thank you for caring for her. Thank you for being here today in whatever way you can. I also want to say thank you to all those that have supported me, my friends and family, Leann's friends and family. It has been amazing the amount of support I've got. So where do I begin? Where do I begin to tell the story of Leann? I think for my part, I got to start the first night I met her. Our mutual friend David invited her over to meet his guitar playing 17-year-old kid friend who thought he knew everything but knew very, very little. I was awestruck. I didn't say 6 words to her that whole night. Just in awe. A fact, by the way, she loved to throw in my face many, many years. many, many times over the years. But the second night we stayed up all night talking. Just her and I talking. Until the sun came up. That second night would actually be foreshadowing of what we would become. It's even at that early age, our lives, our relationship was built on conversation. It was built on being more than best friends. We didn't end up together from that moment on. She had a little bit left in her journey, and I had a little bit left in mine. We did end up back together. We were inevitable. Her and I were inevitable. And the first couple of years we were back together, it wasn't easy. It was hard to adjust to being together as adults. There's a lot of things we had to work through. But it was in those years that we learned how to do the hard work on the inside that can make your life on the outside better. We learned together. We taught each other. We taught each other how to emotionally navigate this life thing. That's what we call it life. We call life this life thing. And we explored it and discussed it constantly. See, we were more than just best friends. We were more than a husband and wife. We were something much, much deeper. I'm actually reminded of the next conversation I had with our niece Ava. This was a couple of months after Leann died. We were talking about best friends. She's been spending a lot of time with her best friend this last year. And I told her, I said, in my experience, you can have more than just one best friend in your life. At my age, I have 3. Chris, David, and Frank have been incredible blessings to me, gifts to my life. I'm not who I am without them. But I told her, your Aunt Leann and I, we were a little different. We were best friends long before we got here. And we'll be best friends even longer after we're gone. We evolved into a relationship that was built on gratitude. We expressed gratitude to each other constantly. Everything from the big to the small. We noticed every little thing we did. Hey, thanks for taking care of me. Thanks for taking care of the dogs. I just didn't have it in me. Thanks for picking up after me. Thanks for helping me when my dad died. Thanks for holding me up when I needed it most. We said how grateful we were to each other constantly. In the last years we were together, we lost 2 beloved dogs. We had a small house fire. She broke both her arms. She broke her leg. In the isolation of COVID. And I can tell you, those were the best years we were together. When it got harder, we got better. We got closer. And that was only possible because of how grateful we were for each other. And especially that we expressed that gratitude constantly. It was possible because we were built on the pillar of thank you for everything always. It was a Leannism. It was something we said to each other all the time. Thank you for everything always. We didn't just say it, we lived it. In my experience, gratitude is the key to unlocking the best that life can offer. Indeed, we were the best that life can offer. And if you take nothing away from today, take away this. Always remember to say thank you. It means everything. Thousands of hours of conversation. All we ever did was talk. Leann was a behavior junkie. She read and studied anything that had to do with behavior of living things. Dogs, humans, and even chickens. I actually remember her reading about the behavior of chickens. And we talked about it, a few hours of it. But that was more on her. I wasn't very interested in that one. But I was a bit of a behavior junkie too. And I loved to discuss with her what made people what they were. I remember a period where we read and listened to everything Brene Brown, everything. long before her Netflix special. And all we talked about was shame and vulnerability and authenticity. We changed our lives based on her work. We had another period where we listened to and read everything Marshall Rosenberg and his nonviolent communication. It's a need-based communication. We shaped how we talk to each other based on what he did, on what we read. We spent 6 months on the word happy. What happiness meant to us as individuals, what happiness meant as a couple, what happiness was as a society. 6 months. We thought we had figured it out. And then she read some blog post that said happiness was the full spectrum of emotions, everything. That it wasn't just the smiles and the giggles and the laughs, that it was the pain and the hurt and the fear. And we said, holy shit, that's it. That's what it is. That's what life's all about, the full spectrum, feeling everything with the human experience. Tasting every bite of it, every single morsel. And I can tell you that after losing her, after losing what was my everything, all the pain, the sorrow, and the gratitude that comes with it, I can absolutely tell you that I define happiness as the full range of emotions, feeling every part of it. I wouldn't trade less love for less pain, wouldn't change a thing. You can't have the bliss of love without accepting the grief of loss. There are two inseparable sides of the same coin. Most every parent in this room will tell you the single greatest sources of joy come from their kids. And it can be joy and laughter and love, but they can also be the greatest sources of pain and fear and anxiety. This full range of emotions is what life is all about. And this is how Leann and I defined it. And Leann was passionate about many things: books, dogs, behavior. She was particularly passionate about doing the work, doing the hard work, doing the hard work inside and out. We spent so many hours that revolved around doing that inner work. She found that in her life, if you do that work on the inside, that it would open doors to help others on the outside. She spent so much of her time in the early years overcoming inner obstacles. And it was her overcoming those obstacles that allowed her to help so many later in her life overcome similar obstacles. Somewhere along the way, she figured out one of the greatest gifts life can give you is to take what hurts you, what ails you, what holds you back, work through it, overcome it, and then help others. She had another Leannism: turn your wounds into wisdom. Turn your wounds into wisdom. She was a master at it. A master at it. This incredibly compassionate use of her pain was her life's purpose. Type 1 diabetes was a disease that wrecked her body constantly. I saw it every day. I saw it hurt her physically and emotionally every single day. When she was diagnosed in her 20s, it completely reshaped her life. It reshaped it into something that was going to be much, much harder. What did she do with that pain? What did she do with that obstacle? She overcame it. She worked through it. And then she used it. She used it to help others, to coach others that were recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. She used it to make the world better. Working through it, by the way, doesn't mean she defeated it. She never conquered diabetes. She never conquered how it wrecked her life. She never conquered how she felt. She used it, and she made the world better. She had self-esteem issues, deep self-esteem issues. She battled a low self-esteem until the day she died. We spent so much time talking about that voice inside her head that said she wasn't good enough, she wasn't smart enough, she didn't belong in that room, that no one should listen to her. She never defeated that constant voice either. She worked through it. She did the inside emotional work and then turned those wounds into wisdom and helped others. She started a Facebook group with the sole purpose of helping others find their online brand, their online voice, and overcome all those negative self-talk voices in their own heads. She faced inner struggles with feeling heard as an ACT-based coach in a therapist world. She had that voice telling her she didn't belong in that room with higher educated people. What did she do with that? She overcame that by starting and managing the ACT coaching special interest group and supporting several activities within that group, including starting another Facebook group to allow coaches a space to be on equal footing with therapists, and most importantly, to connect with one another. She did the hard work inside and out, always. As I said, I've seen her beaten down time and time again by her body. Her body was a challenge to her whole adult life. Just another thing she had to work through. She had another Leannism. If you get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8. Damn, if I didn't see her get up hundreds of times with more compassion and more resolve. It was amazing. I used to tell her, I've never seen a human being take a beating like you and get right back up every single time. I used to tell her how much I respected and admired who she had become, how she had grown. You see, she didn't start out like that. When she was younger, she didn't know how to stand up. She didn't know what helpful work to do to stand up. She learned. She learned and she did the hard work, and it found her life's purpose. I got a front row seat to watch a transformation of someone that was scared of so much become one of the most courageous people I've ever even heard of. And I got to see it all from the front row. Being with her was like taking a master class in the meaning of life. In the years we were together, we experienced the love of 5 lifetimes, the gifts of 5 lifetimes, the conversations of 10 lifetimes. And I can tell you, having that front row seat to the Leann show was arguably one of the greatest gifts she ever gave me. Leann and I didn't make a lot of promises to each other. We didn't really need to. Our life together was a promise. Our love together was a promise. Just wasn't something we did very often. So today I'm going to do something I very rarely ever did. I'm going to make some promises to Leann. I promise you, Leann, that I will always keep trying at this life thing, that I will make sure that my life is filled with purpose and happiness, just the way we defined it. I promise you that I will keep doing the hard work inside and out, especially when it's painful, just the way we taught each other to. I promise you that not if, but when I get knocked down 7 times, I will get up 8. And I will get up with the courage and resolve I saw you do so many times. I promise you, Leann, that I will live a life of grateful servitude to others, the way you showed me how, and that I will finish what we came here to do. And lastly, Leann, I promise you that when I see you again, and I will see you when it's my time, that you will say, "Nice job, Brandon. Well done at that life thing. Well fucking done." So it is with the heaviest heart that I say to all of you, that, like me, have to carry forward without her here. Carry on without her sarcastic wit, making you smile just when you needed it. Without her compassionate light, lighting that next step to take. Without that sometimes gentle, sometimes firm hand holding yours when you took that next step. I say to all of you, you keep trying and doing your best at this life thing, and know that I will too. You keep doing the hard work inside and out, especially when it's painful and ugly, and know that I will too. You turn your wounds into wisdom and make the world better, and know that I will too. Because in the end, that's the best any of us can do, to honor who she was while she was here and pay homage to the legacy she left behind. Or you can drop an F-bomb in the eulogy. That'll honor who she was too. Her mom and I were talking the other day about her sailor's mouth. I have one too, so. This last part is from me to her. Just me talking to her. I love you, Lele. I love you, twin flame, until the universe dissolves. Until the universe dissolves. Thank you for everything always. Always and forever. Thank you. Well, that concludes the planned portion of today. We've got the room for a little while longer. I invite everyone to stay and socialize a bit more. I want to say a very special thank you to Sharon and David and all those that helped me put this thing together. And for everyone traveling, safe travels and be safe. And thank you for everything always.